Atlanta on Atlanta News First. Atlanta News First is celebrating Black History Month, highlighting Georgia Trailblazers, a legacy of power and progress. Sponsored by Calvin Smith Law, the injury lawyers.
Throughout history, there have been moments when ordinary people decided to become extraordinary, when they looked at the world as it was and dared to imagine it differently. These are the stories of Georgia's Trailblazers. Welcome, I'm Tracy Hutchins.
And I'm Brooks Baptiste. Today we honor visionaries who refused to accept the limits placed upon them, who turned pain into purpose, and whose courage continues to inspire generations.
If my family had not stepped up to do this, I'm sure that somebody would have.
He paved ways and pathways for people that nobody else did.
What does Black History Month in 2026 mean to you?
Well, I was beginning to think nothing.
So much of our history has been relegated to footnotes or no notes, simply forgotten.
I hope somebody says he tried to help somebody. That's good enough.
I feel honored because somebody cares enough to remember.
We begin with one of Atlanta's living legends, Zernona Clayton, a trailblazer who shattered the glass ceiling when she became the first African-American to have her own talk show here in the South. She sat down with Atlanta News First, Cyria Samlin.
Look at this view!
If I could,
Look at this view!
In her downtown Atlanta office on a sunny winter day, Zernona Clayton remembers the phone call that changed her life.
well, Martin himself called me and talked for 3 hours on the phone. And that's how I got to Atlanta.
Violence is self-defeating.
60 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. himself asked Clayton's then husband, Ed, an editor for Jet magazine, to come to Atlanta to cover the movement.
And he finally talked to us and he said, why don't you come down here and see what we're doing? Because maybe you don't understand, we're struggling for a cause. There's a serious cause here. And people are really putting their hearts and souls behind these issues.
Clayton got to work immediately as an organizer for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, working with Dr. King to push for desegregation across the South. She quickly made a name for herself, becoming a close confidant and advisor to Dr. King, and often traveling with Coretta Scott King to deliver her own passionate speeches about the fight for equality.
To see a black face on television, there's something inside of me that said, you helped to make that happen.
That's perfect.
Then, in 1967, another life-changing milestone, she became the first black person in the South to have her own television show.
I was on the show. I was the show, the Zernona Clayton Show.
The show launched a 3-decade television career, which included working alongside Ted Turner at Turner Broadcasting. Looking back on being the first, she just always wanted to be the best.
Well, when you put it like that, you feel like, boy, you're bigger than life. But you really aren't. We're all the same. We're all the same. You got a story to do. I would have a story to do. You got to tell it right and tell it good, and it'll work.
Fast forward to 1993 when she founded the Trumpet Awards, honoring important achievements and contributions of African Americans. At 95 years old, she's now retired but still active in the community.
What does Black History Month in 2026 mean to you?
Well, I was beginning to think nothing, because society put some stumbling blocks in our way, and it's so unfortunate. But we can't sit and talk about how sad it is. We gotta do something.
Cyria Samlin for Atlanta News First.
I'm Monica Pearson. Black history is perfect for trivia games, since so much of our history has been relegated to footnotes or no notes, simply forgotten. For instance, can you name the inventor of the ever-popular Super Soaker water gun, who first made Alabama history when he was 17 years old? Meet inventor Lonnie Johnson. This is an enlarged copy of the picture of 17-year-old Lonnie Johnson and his award-winning robot. I saw it when Johnson gave me a tour of Johnson Research and Development and the Johnson STEM Activity Center. Lonnie was the only black student in the competition and the first black person to win the top prize at a Southeast Regional Engineering competition for high school students held at the University of Alabama. Years later, he graduated from Tuskegee University with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in nuclear engineering. He served 2 stints in the Air Force, worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and the Super Soaker water gun is just one of his over 150 patents. There are other inventions being perfected.
Now working on energy technology with the idea of making electric vehicles safe, so a solid-state battery that would give you about twice the range instead of 300 miles on a charge, I think 600 or 700 miles on a single charge. We've had to develop new materials that didn't exist. It was like trying to find a cure for cancer. A lot of thought experiments and then testing them out in the laboratory, the whole nine yards.
But he is also preparing the next generation of students he hopes will embrace science, technology, engineering, and math. JSAC, the Johnson STEM Activity Center, accepts students into its program starting at age 7. The program is 20 years old. What are the successes you've seen in children?
Oh, just seeing them blossom. I mean, they start out, come here just totally insecure, don't speak up and represent themselves well, and next thing you know, you've got this young kid who's just very confident and outspoken and representing themselves and building stuff and creating. It's an awesome thing to watch.
Some people describe him as living Black history. Lonnie doesn't see it that way.
Because I am working still, because I still have problems that I'm trying to solve, and that's where my focus is.
Monica Pearson, Atlanta News First.
So wings might take center stage as a favorite food here in Atlanta in 2026. But back in the 1960s, it was all about the barbecue.
Absolutely. Wood-fired or charcoal pit restaurants, they were staples of the local dining scene. And one spot stood out from the rest to become a safe haven for civil rights leaders to organize and strategize.
It was right there where you see those shrubs. Right there where you see the shrubs and the baskets.
No signs, no markers, no monuments, only memories of what was once a mecca for giants in the civil rights movement.
This place is history.
Pamela Alexander had a front row seat. Her father, Ernest Alexander, owned Alex Barbecue Heaven. This restaurant, one of 6 he opened around Atlanta, sat in the shadow of West Hunter Street Baptist Church. Reverend Ralph David Abernathy was in the pulpit, and often in the pews, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
They would come over and eat. And if Daddy wasn't open, he would come down to open it for them. He would bring his friends, and really, I don't know if they were back there talking about their next move as far as the movement went, but I think maybe some of it was just to release the tension of the day at the time and have fun, because I heard he was a jokester. It was his favorite barbecue in the whole world. Miss Coretta told me that. I catered something for her once, and she said, that was Martin's favorite barbecue in the whole world. I said, I'm so happy to hear that, because I never forgot it.
By the 1990s, people would forget about Alex Barbecue Heaven. It was torn down to make way for a grocery store. Now a Walmart sits on the corner.
I don't have the physical building, but I have it in my heart. I have it in my comeback sauce. My daddy named it Comeback. We were sitting down talking one day. I said, what do you want to call this sauce, Daddy? He said, Comeback. I said, why you want to call it Comeback, Daddy? He said, because if they taste it, they'll come back for more. So I said, okay. I feel honored because somebody cares enough to remember Alex Barbecue. Alex Barbecue Heaven. So close to my heart and my family.
Today, the Braves are back on Atlanta News First in a spring training matchup with the Red Sox. Catch every pitch as the Braves show the boys from Beantown this is our year. We're here to win it all. Braves, today at 1 on Atlanta News First. Today at 4, we surprise a breast cancer survivor giving back, making care bags with her son for newly diagnosed patients.
And so I want to make sure that people know they're not alone and there's somebody out there that went through it that is still praying for you, rooting for you, and thinking about you.
What was that?
Oops. My bad.
You wouldn't have a clown on your SWAT team. Just like you wouldn't have anyone but Morgan & Morgan handle your injury case. With over $30 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big.
We'll get them next time.
Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Unlocking your business potential takes the right digital strategy and the right partner. At Gray Digital Media, we're that partner you can trust. Because we know local. We develop the right message to grab attention and drive leads with custom strategies designed to grow your brand and reach your customers across the streaming apps you know best. Your business will show up in the social feeds we all use every day, and we'll help you leverage the power of Google and talk to the right audience on YouTube. Our marketing experts connect you with customers right here in Atlanta and wherever your audience is. Together, we'll find new customers and get results that matter to you and your business. Cutting-edge strategies backed by local expertise. That's the Gray Digital Media difference. We know local. Let's connect today. GDMAtlanta.com.
She's Hollywood royalty. I go one-on-one with Academy Award-winning actress and activist Jane Fonda. We talk about her award-winning career, politics, and how she's giving back with a charity she founded right here in Georgia. Plus, how she's not giving up the role of activist anytime soon.
So I wear this whenever I can. I've washed it since.
It's a candid conversation you don't want to miss. Join me Sunday at 8 on Atlanta News First and streaming on Atlanta News First Plus.
Aging Untold, a new one-of-a-kind show that shines a light on aging in America.
Weekdays at 3 starting March 2nd on Atlanta News First. Atlanta News First is celebrating Black History Month, highlighting Georgia Trailblazers, a legacy of power and progress. Sponsored by Calvin Smith Law, the injury lawyers.
I'm investigative reporter Sierra Cummings, and I've lived in Atlanta for 5 years, but I didn't know the history behind the home's name, a story far too important to forget as young people or new Atlanta residents are unaware of a father and his son's unparalleled contribution to integration. After all, it's not every day one family wins 2 U.S. Supreme Court cases.
At what age did you realize your family was a big deal?
Probably not until middle school.
Sitting in the room where walls themselves tell a compelling narrative of a family of firsts, the most powerful version of this story comes from Hamilton Holmes Jr., son of Hamilton Holmes Sr., grandson of Alfred Tupp Holmes. We'll start with his granddad, Alfred, nicknamed Tupp. July 1951, Tupp, his relatives, and a friend wanted to play a round of golf at Bobby Jones Golf Course.
We're a really good golfer during this time.
The public course denied Tupp access because of his skin color. In 1953, Tupp and a golf committee sued the city of Atlanta, an attorney for the Ku Klux Klan filing a motion to have Tupp's lawsuit dismissed.
White people sometimes got in their cars and drove by the house, and they'd stop in front of the house and, curse at them or throw something through the window.
Try to intimidate them.
Yes, absolutely.
For 2 years, it was an uphill battle, eventually teeing up to the U.S. Supreme Court. November 1955, the U.S. justices unanimously ruling Atlanta must allow black people to play on its public courses. The desegregation of golf facilities set precedent for integration across all other public places like beaches, libraries, parks, not just in Atlanta, but beyond it.
Without your family, do you think we would be where we're at right now with civil rights?
That's a good question. If my family had not stepped up to do this, I'm sure that somebody would have. Just a destination point.
Now, on the Tup Golf Course, named after his grandfather, Hamilton Jr. says this property is dedicated to uplifting children in the community. It's not the only site named after the family. 6 years after Tup Holmes broke barriers, his own son, Hamilton Holmes Sr., shattered ceilings in education. 1961, Hamilton Sr., along with his friend Charlene Hunter, were the first black students admitted to the University of Georgia. It came after he received a series of denials between 1959 and 1960.
School basically told them that either they weren't smart enough or lacked character.
Hamilton sued the university for discrimination. The case went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling in the family's favor once again. However, the legal win often felt like a loss.
He'd be on campus walking around, people would throw rocks at him, they'd spit at him, call him the N-word. He told me while he was there as a student for 2.5 years, he didn't make one friend on campus.
Still, his father remained resilient, an entire family that endured.
My father passed when he was 54. Tup passed when he was 50 years old. So they were young men still. Now that I know it doesn't matter how long you live, but it's what you do during that time.
This month, local leaders will celebrate the Holmes family and the 70th anniversary of the Supreme Court victory that integrated golf and other public spaces. For that info and the family's foundation, go to AtlantaNewsFirst.com.
The Atlanta Braves are the longest-running franchise in Major League Baseball's history, and they played a major part in breaking baseball's racial barriers. But while he may not be a household name like Jackie Robinson or Hank Aaron, Bill Lucas was very much a trailblazer in the MLB.
He was the first black general manager appointed in 1976, right here in Atlanta for the Atlanta Braves. Avery Braxton shows us how the Braves continue to honor his legacy.
Swing and a drive, belted left center field, break out the tape measure, the Braves lead.
Bill Lucas broke baseball color barriers in a place fans never saw, the front office.
Every time I would say something to him about it, his response to me would always be, I'm a general manager who just happens to be black. Every time I would try to make a big deal out of it, that's what he would say to me.
Bill Lucas Jr. reminisces about his father, a man who spent his entire career with the Braves. He started as a minor league player for the Milwaukee Braves in 1957, playing for 6 seasons before joining the Braves front office in 1965.
He went from public relations to assistant farm director, to farm director, and then ultimately general manager. So I just remember him every 2 years coming home saying he got a promotion. I always thought that was pretty cool.
Building his way up year after year until one day he was named the first black general manager in the major leagues.
He was definitely, my daddy. I go to my daddy. And so I used to come to the games, and I used to go hang out with him a lot of times in his box.
It was owner Ted Turner who trusted Lucas with his organization. Technically, Turner named him Vice President of Player Personnel in 1976. But for all intents and purposes, Lucas built a dynasty. He was the mind behind signing and managing legendary names like Dale Murphy, Phil Niekro, and manager Bobby Cox.
But he had a plan, and he knew if he built the team within and brought in the right coaches and the right personnel, that we could change, that they would change and they would rise.
Lucas implemented his plan for just 3 years before he passed from a brain hemorrhage, shortly after watching his beloved Braves make history.
Phil Niekro won his 200th win. And I remember my dad getting up, going on the phone in the room, and I watched the whole game with him, and he called up and ordered champagne to the clubhouse there. They were out of town. And I just always remember that point. Last thing he said to me was, he said, "Go ahead, girl, go ahead and go to bed."
The Braves never forgot. His legacy lives on, with current Braves executives meeting in the Bill Lucas conference room. A softball field at DeKalb County's Gresham Park carries his name, and the Bill Lucas Fellowship trains young minority professionals for front office careers.
I mean, I don't think those are people you forget. I mean, he was the first Black general manager in all of baseball. Like, he paved ways and pathways for people that nobody else did. So he deserves it in every way.
I feel pride and I feel love. I mean, the Braves are our family and have been our family.
Avery Braxton, Atlanta News First.
We're taking local news to the next level. Your town, your local team. Atlanta News First.
They came.
High fly ball to left, good goodbye.
They conquered.
Broken bat line drive, and the Braves win it.
They brought it home.
Swing and a high fly ball. That one's into the bullpen.
We lived the defining moments of the Braves' 2021 World Series run. Featuring exclusive first-hand insights from manager Brian Snitker.
All that, I think, probably leads to an improbable season because it was.
Celebrating 21 before today's spring training game on Atlanta News First.
Roku users, here's how you can add First Alert Weather to your device in just a few simple steps. Grab your remote and head to the search bar. Once you're there, type in Atlanta News First. You'll see the thumbnail appear, select it. Then choose Add App. Once it's installed, head back to the home screen and you'll find the app. Select the app and open it. Now you can get First Alert updates anytime. When we know, you'll know. Stream First Alert Weather anytime on Atlanta News First Plus.
You have to see it. You have to hear it. You have to experience next-gen TV to believe it. With unmatched 4K clarity, breathtaking color, and movie theater quality sound. And now, watch and play free games with Game Loop. It's all free, over the air, now. Make your next TV a next-gen TV. Visit atlantanewsfirst.com/nextgen to learn more.
Network, now playing on Xfinity, Spectrum, YouTube TV, and Fubo.
Local news is personal. It should be timely, fair, trustworthy, and helpful. No one does it better than Tracy Hutchins, Blair Miller, and the team at Atlanta News First. They are first with breaking news, first with important updates, and connected to what matters. Their agenda is all about you, your life, and your safety. I'm Monica Pearson. I know Atlanta, I know local news, and I trust Atlanta News First.
Jackets, all access, Wednesday at 7:30 on Atlanta News First.
From South Central LA to the Hollywood of the South, John Hope Bryant's life journey is rooted in financial literacy.
And as an entrepreneur who is bringing economic opportunity to underserved communities, he continues to be a champion of financial justice. But he'll tell you, he stands on the shoulders of a former Atlanta mayor.
I really don't think that what I do is special. I just think I see a problem, I decide to fix it, and I won't give up.
Growing up in Compton as a 9-year-old in the 70s, John Hope Bryant didn't imagine life would someday look like this.
I had been thinking about before that, how do I get out of the hood alive? Not prison, not probation, not parole, and not death.
When one day, a banker came into his classroom, Bryant quickly learned about the power of a dollar.
So I said, Mr. Mack is selling the wrong kind of candy.
Mr. Mack, the owner of a neighborhood business, tried blowing him off.
Go away, little boy, I've got a college degree and I'm doing really well. That's nice you have a college degree. I've got cavities.
With a drive to make some extra cash selling candy, Bryant got a loan from his mom.
How much did she loan you?
$40.
That $40 led to an extra $300 a week, birthing the mindset needed to generate wealth.
We're doing so much with so little for so long, we almost do anything with nothing. Can I get an amen?
By 1992, Bryant's vision for financial literacy grew beyond himself.
I'm a facilitator, I'm a conduit, I'm the economic plumber for our community.
He launched Operation Hope, a nonprofit dedicated to making capitalism work for the underserved.
Because America cannot continue to be the leader of the free world, the superpower of the free world. if it's not the economic leader of the free world. And that's financial literacy, that's AI literacy, that's credit access to capital at prime rates, being able to fulfill your dreams.
Since its inception, Operation Hope has directed more than $4.5 billion in capital to marginalized communities.
At 620 credit score, nobody will tell you this, you cannot get a small business loan. Cannot.
His influence led to financial literacy becoming an official U.S. federal policy under Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama. Now, living in Atlanta, his impact in this city, he says, is built on the shoulders of his mentor.
I don't call him Andy. I don't call him Andrew Young. I call him Ambassador Andrew Young.
The former Atlanta mayor, U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and early leader in the civil rights movement, introduced Bryant to what the South had to offer.
It was Ambassador Andrew Young who came to L.A., saw how it was being treated there by leaders there, said, these guys here are never gonna let you grow up. Look, just to make this really simple, and I've never said this on camera, I would have been rejected in Atlanta without him. So Ambassador Young, this is deep. With no motivation, no incentive, no financial relationship, I'm not a part of his family. Took this little kid with a dream. He put his arms around me. He told everybody in Atlanta, this is my guy. That's angelic. The dude is unbelievably good people. And I love him with all my heart.
You know, Tracy, these stories that we've shared here today remind us that resilience and innovation are woven into the very fabric of our nation's history. But Black History Month is not just about looking back. It's also a call for us to move forward together.
Yeah, Brooke, so let's carry these lessons of courage and determination with us, commit to standing in solidarity with one another, and dedicate ourselves to building a future where every voice is heard and every dream is honored. We are strongest when we do it together. Thanks for joining us.